Friends, and welcome to Akulmach live stream. And today is November 3rd. So let us dive into the historic events which happened today. Maybe there is some learning and maybe something to remember. So let us start our journey today. Well, the first thing is about England, and many of you may be knowing that in England, most of the Christians basically protested against the Catholic Church, and because of that, they are called Protestants. So it started a new stream or new faction within Christianity, and they moved away from the Catholic Church, which is called the Catholic Roman Catholics. The English people are called the Protestant Christians, and they have slightly different ideologies. However, today on November 3rd, 1534, the English Parliament passed the Supremacy Act, which made the Henry VIII and all subsequent monarchs of England as head of church in England. So basically, they kind of snapped ties from the Vatican City and they created their own order in Christianity, which is an important day for Protestants. All right, let's move to the next one. And this is a little bit of sad information. And as you can see, this pretty woman, she existed in 1793, and she was a French journalist, a playwright, and also a feminist. Her name was Olympe de Gouges. And in the 1700s, the French Revolution was on the full peak, and they were actually getting hold of all kinds of elite people and basically killing them during the French Revolution. So today on November 3rd, 1793, this lady was guillotined. And guillotine is basically the butchering device which used to look like a big axe which will fall on your neck and severing your head from your body. So she was given this punishment, and it's very sad because I think many people lost their life, especially people who were scientists and even professors. Many of them were rounded up by the revolutionaries and were killed, and she was one of them. All right, let's move to the next one. Well, believe it or not, the Indian newspaper during the era of newspaper, the famous Times of India, has the world record of being the English newspaper in circulation in the highest number. And this newspaper really started in 1832, started publishing in the year 1832 on November 3rd. But this was not known as the Times of India. In those days, this was called Bombay Times, and it's also one of the oldest newspaper in the world, and the largest circulation. It has the world record. So I think it's an important trivia to know for people who would like to follow such historic incident, that and especially Indians, they can feel proud about this kind of a achievement by Indian newspaper. All right, let's move to the next one. I'm not sure if many of us will know General Ulysses S. Grant. He was the general for the north side for the Lincoln's army, the army which was loyal to Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War, United States Civil War. And Ulysses S. Grant was leading the winning side, basically, which actually won during the Civil War. And subsequently, after the death of Abraham Lincoln, rather assassination by Booth, of Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses actually stood in the election and won against the Democrat. And in year 1868, on November 3rd, he became the President of United States. So let's move to the next one. This is about Panama. Believe it or not, Panama was under the colonial rule of Colombia. So, the colonization was so rampant that even the colonies of Spain were colonizing other areas. So I think it is absurd. So Panama was an independent country, and it was basically colonized by the Scottish people, but then later acquired by Colombia. And they actually fought against the Colombian rule, became independent in the year 1903 on November 3rd. Important thing to know, because I think these countries are so small, sometimes we don't even think about their history. But nevertheless, I think it was a very important incident in our history where people rose against any sort of colonization, even in small pockets. All right, let's move to the next one. Well, there was an international radio telegraph society which used to decide on various codes that are used in radios, because in those days the radio used to be sort of peer-to-peer communication, like a walkie-talkie, where only one person can speak and all others can listen. So at any point in time, only one can speak and everybody else have to listen. So therefore it was logical to develop some sort of codes and some sort of so Morse code was developed so that you can transmit without speaking. Also some codes were developed so you can do use radio as a transmission and meaningful transmission. And therefore today on 1906 on November 3rd, International Radio Telegraph Conference held in Berlin decided SOS will be the international signal for distress. So whenever somebody transmit SOS, it actually means that you are under some sort of a distress, and SOS can be sent terrestrially or through by an aeroplane or even from a different planet. I mean, if suppose you're stuck on Mars or you're in a spacecraft in going towards the moon, you can still say SOS in case there is a problem. So SOS is the signal or symbol for stress or distress, which was adopted in 1906 on November 3rd. All right, let's move to the next one. We all know that the Ford revolutionized the production. Basically, it started with cars, and Ford basically started producing the cars on an assembly line. And by this method, Ford was able to create large factories and also increase production manifold, and thus reducing his cost of the car. And the most famous car which Ford produced from the Ford factories were Model T. And since he was very successful, looking at that success, Chevrolet opened their doors today on November 3rd, 1911. So it is an important day in history where another competitor of Ford started their operations and started building cars on an assembly line in a similar fashion. So I have a viewer here, Vijeta. Vijeta, good morning. How are you? If you have any question related to this subject, please feel free to ask the question. All right, let me move to the next one. Well, Turkey basically switched from Arabic script to Roman alphabet today on November 3rd. Turkey is an Islamic country, we all know that, but they are not Islamic ruled country. So there is a lot of difference. They are a republic. In fact, the name of the country is also called Republic of Turkey. And recently they have changed their name to Turkiya. So Republic of Turkiya. And they were actually they were Christians basically, but they were colonized by Ottomans and forcibly converted about 500 years back. So because of that, they are Islamic country, but and the Ottomans basically also forced the Arabic language on them. And finally, in the year 1928, the Turkey decided unanimously that they will move away from Arabic, and they accepted Roman alphabets as their language or as their script. It's a historic event. Any Islamic country moving away from Arabic and accepting Roman alphabets as their script. This happened on November 3, 1928. All right, so let's move to the next one. Well, believe it or not, the Bank of America, the famous Bank of America as we know it today, was was not always known as Bank of America. It was a very old bank started in the United States, and it was called Bank of Italy because it was started by the Italian immigrants who settled in the New York area. And when they started their bank, it was called Bank of Italy because they were still thinking that they will use the new world or the land of opportunity to make a lot of money. And their dilemma was they want to basically build respect in front of their own especially the Italian community in the 1800. They wanted to show their relatives back in Italy that they are doing very well. So every time they used to do things, they actually used to look at their homeland, which is Italy. So it is not surprising when they started a bank, it was called Bank of Italy. But today, on November 3rd, the Bank of Italy was renamed as Bank of America because by this time they realized that Italy has very little meaning in their life, and it was meaningless to basically remember Italy after 300 years. So they realized their mistake, changed the name to Bank of America in 1930, November 3rd. So I think we've come to an end of our historic reflections, and the program name is This Day That Year, where I present some of these selected events which are important, which we must remember, and for understanding our trivia and also understanding our history. These are incidents which I bring to you every day. So if you have any questions, suggestions, any thoughts, please feel free to write in. Otherwise, I would like to say goodbye for today, only to catch you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.